Alright guys, and then in page 15, on page 15 it says we need to input the information as given there in our edit lines option. So that means on the first line we've got 1 RC no, and then the description there is balance sheet. So we need to input balance sheet and formula, no formula given, and the rest is no. The second line 1 RCN and there's nothing. Move on to the next line, which is 1 RCN capital utilized. So your description there would be capital utilized. So it's capital utilized. What you're doing, ladies and gentlemen, is telling the system your various lines in your report, and you're also giving it formulas that it can use to generate the different totals and amounts. And we've got no formula there. And then the second one would be you skip 2 and it would be your right. C, which stands for credit, and no, you do not want it to suppress. The description is capital, and the formula would be CT01, and the number of sub-accounts would be 1, and yes, you would add a subsection total. The second one is also number 2, but this one would be printed on the left, and it is also a credit because we're still on capital, and you do not want it to suppress, and you are inputting the opening balance. So this would be the opening balance, and the formula there would be ACC 5, and you need to then count the number of zeros that you have. So 2, 4, 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the number of subtotal numbers would be 2, and the subtotal action you wanted to add. Yes, add. And moving on from there, we have the next one, which is the net profit. So you're adding net profit to your opening balance of your capital. Oh no, sorry, of the previous total, which would be your retained earnings. So, but anyways, you're adding it 1, and it is left CN, and you say plus net profit, and your formula there would be your ACC 5100000, and it's 2 subtotal numbers, and then you wanted to add. I beg your pardon. Then moving on to the next one, it is 1 left credit N and SC, and nothing else there. Remove, and that also is left, but now it is debit. On your debit side, no, still on your credit, I beg your pardon, it's credit, and you have no description, and it would be your total 2. Your total 2, so tot 2, no subtotal numbers, and nothing else. Moving on to drawings, so you need to list drawings from your capital, and it's 1 left. It would be debit, it would be no, and you'd say less drawings, and your formula would be ACC 5200000, ACC 520000. So alright, ladies and gentlemen, I will stop there to save recording time. However, as you can see, the process, you'd go next and then you'd input exactly as given. If you want to link this to the exercise that we did in class, you would see that we did the exact same thing, and in that example we were given a different format because it was an income statement that we were producing. But now this is the balance sheet, therefore it is a little bit different. All right, let me continue and we'll see each other after we have completed everything. And then, ladies and gentlemen, you would need, after you've added everything, I always say first and start, and I wanted to see something. So because see here in my index description I wrote something wrong, I said. So I wanted to fix that. I could go back. Would you like to save? Yes, we'd like to save changes. And then you cancel. After you've edited your lines, you've told now Pascal that you are doing a balance sheet, and these are the columns you wanted to have, and those are the lines that you'd like it to have, as well as the formulas and other different specifics that the system will need. Your next assignment would be to enter your closing balances into your general journal period 12, and these are this year's balances. If you remember, ladies and gentlemen, from the activity that we did in class, we had an income statement and we had to produce balances for both last year and this year. It's different. You can see the instructions on page 16 say, enter the following balances into the general journal on the 31st of December 2011. So you would go to process, journals, and general journal, and you go to your settings. It's this year's transaction. You will take out the tax processing, and you would create a contra account like we did. If you cannot remember this, guys, please refer to your N4 knowledge, please. if you follow me here, you should be fine. If you follow this video, this recording, and my explanations, you should be fine. But what I mean is that if you need further explanation on those stuff, you would need to revise your N4 knowledge. Right, this is a balance control account, and we will just save because it is just a balance control account, as I've just said. So your contra account, we shouldn't have closed that, should be this. And all right, you are doing period 12. Period 12, because this is the closing balances, so it means that it's a balance at the end of the year. At the end of the year, and you want to first take in capital, and the reference should be or could be closing balance. Could be closing balance. All right. Or GJ12, sorry, GJ12. 12. Just say GJ12. And here you can specify that this is a closing balance. Is capital on the debit or credit? I'm sure you can say it without thinking twice that yes, it is a credit. And you move on to the next one. The next one is your retained income. Retained income, there we go. Please, ladies and gentlemen, do not input the account numbers manually, because you will get it wrong, and that is where some of you guys made a mistake and it didn't want to update. So you need to ensure that you select it from the drop down list. So it's your closing balance, and what is that? It's retained income. Is retained income debit or credit? And I'm sure you can shout and scream at the back of your computer or device that it is indeed a credit balance. And then you move on to drawings. Drawings is a debit balance, and the amount is 25,000. 25,000, not 250. 25,000. And we move. The next one would be vehicles cost. So vehicles cost. This is also should be from your knowledge from N4. Beg your pardon. So in an exam, you would be expected to do this a little bit faster. And you accumulated depreciation for your vehicles. Would be on the credit side, and that is 120 is your cost, and 50 is your accumulated depreciation. All right, and you move on to your equipment. Equipment cost. It is 80,000. And its depreciation. It is 35,000. It's not 350, ladies and gentlemen. It is 35. And moving on swiftly to trading inventory, you look for trading inventory and it is 60,000. Moving on swiftly once more to your bank. Your bank. And your bank would be 20,000. Moving on to petty cash. Petty cash. And you say okay. It would be 1,000. Petty cash. And you go to customs control. It would be 8,000. You move on to supplies control. It is not even would be, it is 12,000. You move on to investment. So your investment with Better Bank, it should be 60,000 on your debit side. And your loan with Sharks, it should be your 5,000 on your credit side. Right, you can see that it doesn't balance, so we need to then go back and check, have we done everything that we are supposed to do? Right, cool. So let's go recheck. Capital is 240,000 credit side, yes we agree, and that is 32,000, yes we do agree, and that is the next one would be 25,000 on your debit side, yes. 120,000 on your debit side, yes. And 50,000 on your credit side, 80,000 on your debit side, 35,000 on your credit side, 60,000 on your debit side, 20,000 on your debit side, 1,000 on your debit side, 8,000 on your debit side, 12,000 on your debit side, 12,000 on your credit side. What was this? It was supplies, 100%. Suppliers are the people whom we owe money. So it needs to be on the credit side, ladies and gentlemen. 12, credit side. And it is in balance. Now, if the question, ladies and gentlemen, is asking you to print this, if it's asking you to print the journals, you need to print before you update. However, if the question is not asking you to print the general journals, then you can update. But you know this from your N4 knowledge. So I'm going to print, and that's my printer. I would print. I'll change it to Adobe now because I don't have my printer with me at the moment. And I would say okay. I'll just do it on my desktop and say yes. And There we go. There we go. It has printed. And then the next part of the question asks you to make a printout of the balance sheet. So before we can go there, let's close all tabs. Before we can go there, yes, we need to update. Okay, it's not in balance. Sorry. Why is it not in balance? I hope it printed the right thing. Print with controls. Yes. Print. Yes. Yeah, there we go. Then I'm convinced everything is alright. And now you need to update this journal patch. Update. And voila, it's gone. You can move on. And the next part of the question says to make a print, you need to make a printout of the balance sheet. So you'd go to view, you'd go to general ledger, report writer, and you want to print a report. So next you want to print this, next, and then you process. Say okay. Now it should have amounts, ladies and gentlemen. Let us check it out. Finish. Let's go again. View, general ledger, report writer, print one or more, and you say next. This is what you want to print, and remember you entered balances here, so it should be that period, and you say okay, and there we go. You do have your balance sheet, and it does balance 252, and then you print it. Let's print it. Yes, you print it to Adobe, and balance sheet, let's say BS balance sheet. And if a question, ladies and gentlemen, you're almost done with the question. If a question asks you to print a report format, maybe the examiner wants to see if you can print the report format, or you've done the format correctly, still go to report writer. You print a report format instead of a report, and next, and this is a report format you want to print. You say next, you say process. And there we go. That is the report format as you were instructed to punch in. You would, let's print also this to Adobe and report format. So voila. Close. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. You literally have done it. You have done it. You should just check your reports against what the textbook is saying. To close up this lesson, what we're trying to do, we're trying to cement the principles that we covered this week or surrounding how you create reports. So the important things is for you to know to change your company parameters, to know how to add your balances and accounts, to know how to add to add financial categories. So you need to know how to do that. And on top of that, I'm trying to go back to my page of the stuff that you need to know. You need to know how to work with your report writer to edit your lines, your columns, as well as the heading of your statement, if it's an income statement or balance sheet. Make sure your period is correct as per the question, and ensure that your entry types is as per the question. Remember, the question might ask you to also include CPJ or CRJ there. Also ensure that you have inputted the balances accordingly. Remember, in the question that we did in class, we had last year and this year, but for this particular question we had this year. So therefore, just take note of that, and take note of what the question is asking you to print out, ladies and gentlemen. Is it asking you to print out the report? Is it asking you to print out the report format? Is it asking you to print out whatever it is, a trial balance? It could also ask you to print out the trial balance or the journals. So just ensure you know what you are required to print out and action accordingly. I wish you all the best, and I hope that this topic now makes sense. If you have any questions or you need assistance in anything, please do not hesitate to let me know. Thank you, N6. Goodbye.